as we can because we suspect gremlins. We could be wrong about that.
100%. 100%. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yes, we suspect gremlins. We're not entirely sure. Well, okay, actually, so I full disclosures, like as I was saying, like I had Mercer Mayer on the podcast, literally, it's like last Thursday, which was kind of really cool. But yeah, the first time we tried was in the middle of September. It was right at my anniversary. StreamYard and me just would not cooperate at all. And I did StreamYard at her request because hey, it's Marissa freaking Mayer. I'm going to do her request. And it was me and my doppelganger ended up actually on screen at the same time. That was first for all of it. I never thought that possible on one of these things. So yeah, we rescheduled it. The second one went off mostly without a hitch. I actually disappeared from the internets but part of that's my computer. My computer hit it's not quite a death knell yet, but it has come to the point where it's like sometimes I cooperate and sometimes I'm old and I forget I don't have pants on. That's where my computer is at right now. So
I think my computer is more punk rock lately. It's just like, you know what? I don't feel like working today, so just, forget you, man. Like I'm not doing it. You don't get any work done today. So congratulations.
So Kris, what you got to do is you have to look at your computer eye to eye, man to machine, and intimidate it with fear.
Well, I've been swearing at it all day, so it didn't like that very much. So
no. But you almost it's so funny story because my dad's at the point now where he actually has a decent amount of money. Now, not the most, but not the least. He's doing well.
Right.
But he's gotten to the point where he's got like one computer pissed him off so much he literally launched it out of his apartment building. It crashed. Like he has the money to do this once in a while. And I looked at him and it's like, why'd you do that? It's like you know what? I couldn't get the damn thing to work, and I wanted to get something out of this damn machine. So that's what he did.
Yeah. I've got a funny story about that. So in my previous life, I was a band director, and we had this headphone set. And it was all wireless, and so we're out on the field and we're practicing, and this thing keeps cutting in and out. And I just got to the point where I was like, I can't take the same. Well, we're trying to learn this. We're wasting time. So I took it and I punted it. I just kicked it across the field, and then continued on with rehearsal. And a few weeks later, when I went to research how much it was going to cost to replace said headset, then I realized the true error of my ways and said, well, maybe I need to find more constructive ways to deal with my aggression, my frustration. So yeah, I've been there.
But there's something, there's something satisfying about that, though. Like in that moment, you feel like
in the moment it was great. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No. Like that. Like okay. Like I said, sometimes listen. There's a true statement. He who laughs last does laugh best. But sometimes he who laughs on the journey does get something out of this too. It does. It's not the only spot you get something out of it. It's just what you pay for at the very end. That's the difference, right? But as long as you're okay with it, it really doesn't matter when you start laughing. That's how I look at it. But that's just me. How you been, man?
Oh man, I'm trying to think. When we talked about a year ago, and I'm trying to remember where I was at in my life. Great things have changed, I think, since the last time we talked.
So the last time, and I've been seeing this a little bit on your like you have. I'm not gonna say diverged from comics exactly, but it's like your biggest passion came and took over your life. Is basically the impression I got with you. Because when we were talking, I remember it was at the end of the show. We were off the air. You're like, "Hey, man." We would talk about two things. Right. The other thing we don't have to really go into, but the first thing we talked about after we talked about that, we talked about your aspirations. And you're like, "Hey, listen, I got this interview."
Okay, cool.
And after that, I got this interview. This is a dream. You told me a little bit about what it was, and I know you got it. That's the one thing I do know for absolute certainty because you've been talking about it nonstop on your feeds. And honestly, you should be. It's what you've always wanted. So I mean, I'm happy for you. I'm happy you're this excited. And for those of us watching / listening, what were we talking about off the air?
So, yeah, about a year ago, going back to July of 21, I was having some serious thoughts about where my life was at. I mean, I'm 44. I was thinking, I've been teaching for 17 years and it's great. The students are amazing, but I was having one of those like, what does life mean kind of moments. And I got to thinking that over the pandemic, I had a little more time than I anticipated, as I assume a lot of people did, being stuck in our homes and not having a lot of things to do. And so during the pandemic, of course, I worked on Peerless and got that done, my first comic book. And I thought to myself, well, this is significant. This is something I've never done before. And I got it done and great artwork. I'm really happy with how it turned out. And so I got to thinking, well, if I could do that, what else am I capable of doing? So in July last year, I left my teaching job with zero prospects. I did not know what I was going to do. All I knew is that I had enough money saved up to get me through December. And then I was like, so here we go, 5 months to figure it out. Let's see what happens.
Hey, no, you know what? Sometimes you have to. I've been freelancing. It took me a year to figure out how to actually approach this correctly. Yeah. And even then, sometimes I still wonder. But that's another. we'll get to me in a minute.
Right.
But yeah. So anyway, what happened?
So I left my job, and I immediately got busy just trying to figure it out. Right? Like, how are we going to make ends meet? And applied for some jobs. And in November, I was hired by the Contemporary Youth Orchestra, which is an orchestra here in Cleveland. I'm the music director and conductor of the ensemble, and it's an amazing organization that fits very well with my passions, which is new music and doing interesting and different things with an orchestra. So we think we're the only youth orchestra solely dedicated to contemporary music. So that's music that was written during the 20th and 21st centuries. And then our main purpose and goal is to feature underrepresented composers, music from different genres, and to do really how to put this. We don't want to do just your normal orchestra program. So in the last year, we've done a number of concerts. We worked with Brazilian musician Luca Mundaka. We've done a concert of all Asian composers. We've done the soundtrack for the trailer for the Cleveland International Film Festival. We'll be performing with Night Ranger in November. We're doing 2 premieres in December. Just all this exciting stuff, and it just absolutely 100% fits with my passions of being creative and not doing the normal stuff that's to be expected. And simultaneously, it's given me the opportunity to start a middle school honors band here in the Cleveland area, and then to finish my new book, which is Shady Lane Blues, and that's now available. So I'm living the creative life. It's been amazing. It's been incredible.
All right, it's my turn. So
okay.
Let's see. So writing wise, I broke into comics this year. I've done that.
Nice.
I did my first published illustrated piece as well. I got that actually published. It's in a book. John Westhoff's zine. I did a Magic the Gathering as short story about a dragon.
Love it.
It's about a dragon that got. I don't know if you've ever seen those altered magic cards or altered by art. Well, his artist altered him with glitter, and he didn't like it very much. And that was the story basically, right? And yes, it was as silly as you could possibly imagine. And I drew him, and I ironically learning how to draw him. Learning how to draw his eyes the way it did. I actually made me learn how to draw breasts better, but that's another. Again, maybe that's a fruity thing. Let's leave that there. But so I did that. Today I'm actually going to a film site. So a friend of mine wants to do a massage therapy vlog YouTube show, and I'm qualified for this. I've put together shows in the past, and I'm putting together this show. So I'm doing that. I am helping a card game actually try to find its market and niche. That's going to be my next 3 months as a project, and it looks like I mean this is really early into the process, but I'm dealing with somebody else about a mental health show as well. So I've become a producer. I'm not quite sure how that happened exactly, but I've become a producer. And
well, I got some theories, man. I got some theories about that.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm jumping in.
Yeah, okay, no. And then on top of that, I'm going to be doing my first Kickstarter. I'm hoping by February or March. And May is when this podcast will likely hit 1,000 episodes.
That's incredible, man. How long have you been doing this podcast now?
8 years. 8 years, and I'm only into my 9th year.
1,000 episodes in 8 years. Good
Yeah.
for you, man. That's amazing.
And when I break 1,000, I hit the road. Like, this is what I'm going to. So the next step for the podcast, I have an ultimate dream for getting the podcast into like this really dynamic, trendy, hipster style studio, and I will look like an important person, right? And you're laughing because you could probably see it'd be something like very, very. Kind of wanted to be going for there, and I bring artists from all over. I bring artists from all over the like Canada, the United States, the world to the studio. That's the ultimate dream. But in the minimal, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mystery machine style van, and then probably for the next few months, years, go to travel the country. All right, and actually interview creatives in really like their own environments, whether it's in their homes, whether it's in some kind of like cool neutral site, right? Probably also while we're doing some form of ice cream and booze. That's kind of like the next step of the podcast.
I think what you need to do is you need to drive around and then you need to do the interviews in the van so that everybody's in extremely close proximity. So it'd be like in between two ferns, but in Joshua's van.
That's right. No, that I could do that, and we'd be eating ice cream and Baileys and bullshitting about everything.
Perfect.
Yeah. I ironically, I've already gotten 2 commitments. One of them is Marissa Mayer, and another one is actually Jennifer Gordon. So I mean, I'm
on the list, man. Come to Cleveland.
Yeah. So no, like because like for me, this is what this is about. Like I figured it took me a long time, but I figured out the secret to this whole freelancing thing. And the secret is you got to actually believe you're worth money to actually get money. And that sounds like a really lame secret, but it's the truth. You have to, no matter what the economy is, you got to believe in the abundance of possibility. You have to believe that what you offer is valuable, and you have to go after it every day. That's really the secret in a nutshell.
Yeah, and I also think that taking that leap is an important step. I think for the longest time, I did the teaching job and then I did all my performing and writing on the side. And I always thought, why can't I make a living doing all the stuff that I really enjoy doing outside of teaching? And then that's what I learned. I mean, as soon as I left the day job, all of a sudden now I'm making a living doing the stuff that I'm passionate about.
Because you're giving yourself no choice. That's the thing.
Right.
That's the secret.
You gotta go do
it. I do currently have what I call a side gig, and I mean it is legitimately a side gig. I'm working for the Calgary Flames, a hockey team here, and I'm doing that on their events. But I'm working like 10, 11 days a month. Like it's not even like a full-time schedule.
Right.
It's even It's just I show up, I make sure my rent's paid, so I can do crazier shit. That's basically it. And
get a mystery mobile van and drive around the country and interview people. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and then figure out like the next step for me is actually figuring out how to take I don't talk about my YouTube channel enough, and it's partly because I hate YouTube. It's got this big giant like ladder to climb. But again, maybe I shouldn't think of it that way. I should think of it in a different light, and probably should. But it's one of those things I realized that, again, a lot of what we do in life is really about what we believe is possible. And again, that sounds like and anyone listening to that's going to say, well, how do you get to that point? It's like, you have to have a mindset that you're going to do it. And the mindset is so important. And my Canadian audience in particular, it's very anathema to what they're taught, but it's truth. You got to have the mindset that I can make this work. And it's so important. And I mean, the first year, my biggest worry was fucking this up. But when the second year, it was like, no, I'm not going to worry about that. And I've been slowly, ever since I've changed my mindset, I've made more money. Now, it hasn't quite hit I'm a living, but it's also at the point now, it's like, I can pay my bills strictly on my creativity more months than not. That's a good thing, right? That's where you're at. And that's again, it's a process. I'm not quite where I want to be yet, but I'm close. Yeah. So,
that's the thing, right? Like, it's not the lottery. You don't expect that this stuff's just going to happen because you want it to happen. I mean, you have to put the work in. And if we've realize anything as creatives, it's that building an audience takes time. It takes consistency. You've got to consistently produce, and then you hope that over time people find your work and they appreciate it, and that they they help you continue to produce new
Oh,
content,
sure.
you know.
Well, your business. I mean, as much as it, and we're gonna get to the silly stuff you're working on musically. I actually have a confession. I'm gonna say this. I have become. I ironically have become a Taylor Swift fan. Never thought I'd actually say that, but she's really great to write too. So I
Yeah,
mean, it's just like one of those like, well, she's got this nice, easy style that you can just fall into, and it's like, okay, this is perfect writing music.
yeah.
Holy shit, I'm a Taylor Swift fan. Like that's the thought process there, right?
Right.
But it like the thing is, you got to realize who you are and who you're not. And I know there's some people like I'm in Calgary, Alberta right now again, and I know there's some people here. It's like, how are you doing this? And it's like, you just do it. Like
Right.
that's all there is to it. You have to approach this every day like that. You can do this. You can't look at it like I can't do this. I'm gonna fuck. No, you gotta be like, I gotta make this happen.
Got to
I'm
do it.
doing it, and then I gotta do it, and that's it. It's all there is, and that's all there. It's a big head game, but if you can master that head game, doors open.
Yeah, keeping 10 toes down, super important.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, and you had extra motivation. I mean, in one sense, I maybe could learn from you because you have a family to feed, right? So that's the thing, right? You did this for you, but you have incentive to succeed, right? I want to do
Well, and
this.
that's
Go.
yeah, I mean that's another part of it, right? I have a 16-year-old daughter, a 13-year-old daughter, and a 4-year-old daughter, and as I was contemplating this move, I sat down with all of them. Not so much the 4-year-old because she's just like, "Yeah, you're gonna be home more." But I was talking to my older kids, and I said, I'm partly doing this because it's being honest with myself, and it's something that I feel like I need to do. But more importantly, I want to set an example for them that if they finally become passionate about something in life, and even if they don't find something they're
They will.
passionate about, it's about being true to yourself. And I think that's one thing I haven't mentioned yet. When I was contemplating this move, it occurred to me that deep inside that 10-year-old kid that liked, reading comic books and daydreaming and listening to Genesis and having dreaming up stories and drawing really bad Garfield cartoons, like that kid is still here, like inside.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
and I just felt like I had gotten away from that, and it didn't feel like I was being true to myself. And what I can say now is that over the course of the last year, I feel more like myself than I have in a really long time.
So, do I have to accuse you of trying to be an adult?
Well, I mean, I was an adult for a long time.
No,
I
no,
feel
no,
more
no, no,
childlike now, for sure.
no, 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 no. See, I'm gonna push back. I don't think you were. So I'm gonna explain why. See, I think this is I learned a lot during the pandemic. One of like I had like three big revelations about me personally, but I think the one that applies to you is this: I can do what I want. Wait a minute.
Right.
Right? I think this is a super important thing because with everything, like obviously, as you well know, other issues are about to peek their way over the horizon. If anybody's paying attention, they know what they are. And if you, at this point, if you're not paying attention, God bless you because you're gonna need it. But the thing is, right? The thing is, we've had for a very very long time this expectation of what we're supposed to do, and the reality is as things continue to unravel, that construct doesn't really exist anymore. It's now about finding your place in the world you want to create, and I think one of the biggest things that's going to be unlearned, I think, for a lot of people in the next few years, is this whole idea that we had to be this way to get this result.
Mm,
Doesn't, because I think as this way that keeps disintegrating, right? The solution is we're going to have to create something new. And a lot of people, I think a lot of people are, if they haven't come to that conclusion, they're going to one way or the other, and that's going to be good and bad. And so the next step then for people and for people like that is then, well, where do we do now? And again, going back to all these things we had as a kid, a lot of people had big and wonderful and fantastic dreams. But I think part of the journey in life is figuring out which dreams do you really want to pursue, because they're all possible.
Yeah. I think something I'm working on, and you know, when we talk in episode 1023, maybe I'll know a little bit more. But I kind of feel like we're all unique. We're all put here, and we have our experiences um, and our interests, and we're all molded by our experiences and the things we choose to explore. And I think that each individual person has something to contribute to the world. And I think it's up to us to decide whether we're going to pursue that unique thing we've been put here to explore. If we're going to, because I think for me, I went to school, I got my education degree, but I kind of always wanted to be a musician, like a gigging musician, a studio musician. And then I was in bands after college, but I worked a job, and then I was kind of like, well, I got this teaching opportunity, let's take that. It'll be health insurance and a decent paycheck. And then I started a family, and so it was like I was doing these things because I felt as though that was the safe way to do it. Like that was the way to a paycheck. That was the way to health insurance. That was the way to have a family and support my family. And then and as I was doing that, I just felt like I was getting further and further away from that person who had dreams and creativity. And while I was always constantly doing those things, I wasn't doing them as much as I was supposed to. And after leaving and getting the Contemporary Youth Orchestra gig, and now putting out my new book and all the music I've written a ton of music in the last year. It's making me feel like, no, I think I really was meant to do these things. I just got in my own way, and I need to get out of my way and trust myself and see what happens. And as a result, great things I think are happening. So
I can accuse you of trying to be an adult.
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, Kris,
Yeah.
how dare you? How dare you?
Ugh, man.
Okay, so let's address one thing I think about this that I think people. I mean, I realized this when one of the reasons I never really pursued a family is because it took me a long time to figure out. Again, the financial end of this is not a tangible thing. It's not, and you have to understand the business of. You have to learn the business of it, because there's no magic way of doing this anymore. Whether it's music, comics, writing,
Right.
like it's valuable. It's actually incredibly lucrative if you know where to look, but it's not necessarily in the ways you imagine it. Like right, like comic book writing. Like people will say, well, what can you do with that? You can do commercials. You can do you can do movie scripts. You can do television. You can do radio. You can do, and all of these skills are essentially doing the same thing. Now, I mean, again, this is just one aspect of it. There's plenty of others, right? But the idea is, like, if you look around, if you go down any street you go down, there's stories literally everywhere. So there's value in them. But how do you get that value? And then on top of that, a lot of people are looking at, okay, it isn't necessarily about me for the longest time. And in all fairness to you, and this is what I will say, probably at some point when you started a family, you're like, well, I gotta make sure they're taken care of. And that is a perfectly
100%.
and that is a perfectly normal reaction. Is a perfectly normal reaction. It is perfectly an understandable reaction. Like it's totally an understandable one. But yeah, I mean, this is something I realized like for me is like again, it took me a long time, and there's no kids, no responsibilities to figure out. It's like, hey, how can I turn my ideas and make money with it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. It took me a while to figure this out. So there is that natural, I think, fear, caution, and also just, and maybe the most adult thing I can not accuse you of, but applaud you for is it wasn't just about you for the longest time. And I think one of the reasons you're willing to take this step now, part of the reason you're willing to take this step now is also your kids are older. They understand what you're doing, and they can learn and either love or hate what you're doing, right? But they're old enough to watch you fail, and it's not necessarily the end of the world either, except for your 4-year-old. But your 4-year-old's not alone; she's got like 2 sisters and other people. So it's not this quite the same thing anymore. You're not scared anymore. There was a natural trepidation and fear, and an understandable one at the very beginning, right? But there's also that reality of, fuck it, I'm only alive once. I got to do this. And if I don't do this, I'll never know. And which leads to the other part of this. Like, okay, that part, I think everybody can understand. Here's the other part. There are people looking for permission their whole lives to do something like that. And one of the hardest things about this, you got to realize, nobody can give you permission for this shit. It doesn't matter what kind of training you have. It doesn't matter what your skill set is. It's irrelevant. Will you do the thing or not? There are more talented people than I am that have done none of the things I've done. And it's not because I'm the most talented. It's because I can fucking do this.
You just gotta do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, that's it. And that's it. It is one of the biggest mental leaps you got to do. Right? It like I said, I'm not, and I say this like in a very, very gentle way, because I'm not saying you shouldn't go to school, but I always wonder sometimes when people go back to school to retrain, sometimes is it like, okay, I'm going to this really comfortable place where I can get something valuable. You're not, it's not like you're not getting something valuable, but it's like, I'm comfortable. This maybe isn't what I should be doing. Some people, I think it literally does that. And then other people, like, obviously it's retraining. Again, folks, I'm not judging you. If you go back to school to get trained and you get retrained, it's not like I'm saying it's a terrible thing. But what I am saying is, a lot of times when we make choices, very rarely do we look at what's the most uncomfortable choice I can make in this moment. Because that's almost always the right choice. Almost always.
I think on the education side, I've been in the education business now since 2004, and I now work at a local community college. And I would say that the best thing I got out of the 2 degrees I have is the connections I made, the people I met, and the resources and the opportunities that came with meeting those people. And then, with a child on the way and starting to think about college, that's something I'm trying to emphasize. Like, yes, you're going to take classes and you're going to learn how to do stuff. But the most important thing is go meet people, go figure out what they do, meet those people's people, and just start making connections. Because at the end of the day, when you're pursuing your passion, you're pursuing something that, you are really excited about, it's going to take other people to make those things happen. It's going to take that ability to communicate and collaborate. And if you are good at doing those things and you're making those connections, then opportunities will present themselves to you. And so, yeah, if people are going back to college, cool. Get as much information as you can, but meet as many people as you can and make those connections, because it's so valuable.
Yeah. And like I said, folks, not against that concept. And why I just pointed out like this, because it's like, just be honest with yourself while you're there. Are you there to learn? Are you there to meet people, or are you there because you're comfortable?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, because that's it. And again, whatever your choice is, that's your choice. Going back to the last thing, and then we'll talk like some fun shit for. I think the last thing I kind of want to say about making these kind of choices and making these decisions for yourself is, it requires you to look at yourself honestly, that I don't need permission. So for you, like, what was that magic moment where you said, like, fuck it, I can just do what I want? Because that's basically what you basically ended up doing.
I think it was my first comic book, because it showed me that I've always believed in my creativity. I've always believed that I've had something to say, and I've been very grateful for the support and positive feedback I've received from folks in the past especially about my music. But to finish the comic book was to do something completely different, completely new for me. A lot of people were like, "Why are you doing this?" And it just worked out in such a way that I was like, "Okay, well, if I can pull this off, if I could be organized enough and disciplined enough to do something completely new, then I know that I have the ability to put my mind towards something and accomplish that task. So what am I waiting for?" And I honestly, getting that book done and then going, well, all right, that was kind of a big deal. Let's go all in. That was truly it. And then it just kind of like everything fell into place after that decision. And then now it's just
So basically,
creating.
so basically, you're not talking anymore about all my bull. I'm not bullshitting myself anymore. I'm actually just gonna fuck it. You just basically said yes.
Yeah.
I'm doing it.
Basically, yeah. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
you can do this, so go do it. That's what I did.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. Like like you said, I have always been the guy. It's like, hey, let's just try it. Like
Right.
I'm a published illustrator now. I never thought that would happen in a million years, right? But here I am, right? So I mean, that's that. I mean, accomplishments this year, like life goals. Like this isn't on the list. Now, next year it leads to some other interesting things. So let's talk comic book stuff. So I got two coming out next year that I'm doing. Now, I'm not sure about where the other one's going to be yet. I actually submitted that one to a publisher. So we're going to go. So now, if it doesn't work out, I do it still myself. It's my little love letter to Fahrenheit 451. I'm actually drawing it as much as I am. So it's that. I also have a Dr. Seuss-esque like comic. Like, so that's going to be my first Kickstarter next year. It's about awesome. Stick figures revolting against their creator for not actually finishing developing them, and that's about the rest of the world. Right. Oh, it hurt I wrote it like Seuss. It broke my brain. Like, it legitimately broke my brain to write. Dr. Seuss is hard, man. He's actually really, really hard, even to do. I'm not even saying I did it well. I'm just saying that he just needed to do it broke my brain. Right. So that's what so like creatively I'm doing that stuff. I got other things too, but those are the immediate two. And then after that I got to do a sequel to Alice. Like at that point I'd be able to catch up. And I have to do another sequel and I do another original novel. So I'm actually like, those are my plans next year beyond, Ice Cream Bailey's, Mystery Machine Van, and Traveling Friends.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Awesome. So that's me. You've been doing orchestra stuff. You talked a little bit about that. You've been writing more music. So we'll get to that in just a minute. But first, since we're going comic books, so you showed me a little bit what you were working on a year ago. So is this the same book?
So you read the book. It's been done for a year, but the thing that I was waiting on was there's a record component that comes with the book. And I don't know if you've heard about the record industry these days, but getting vinyl press takes forever. And I was prepared to release the book last fall. And then I was like, okay, so there's a music component to the book. There's a soundtrack that goes with the book. And the book it's black and white. It's got this great film noir vibe to it.
It's really cool, folks. I read it. It's really, really cool. I kept my mouth shut about it because I wasn't sure when he was releasing it, but I read it. Yes.
And I wanted it to have a vintage feel to it. So I felt like releasing the songs that are in the book on vinyl was an essential component of that old feel. And so I said, well, it's super frustrating that it's going to take as long as it's going to take to get this pressed, but it's worth it. So I just waited, and I waited till the records got pressed, and they finally came back. And so now Shady Lane Blues, a year I've been sitting on this book. It's finally available for other people to read, and I'm very excited about it.
And folks, it's a great book, right? And I actually probably should. I can't do it right this minute, but eventually I'm going to be like, I got to buy this book. Although shipping is now a bitch officially. I might, right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Right. I like actually like it has occurred by because again from a Kickstarter standpoint, it's like the book is $20. I can see the whiteout book is $20. The shipping is $40. So wait, wait a minute.
Right.
And then on top of that, no, and then here's the extra punch in the face for me. I have a Canadian dollar bill. Have you seen the value of my Canadian dollar? Right. Have you seen it? Right.
I'm not versed in the values of your currency, but I'm
We're
assuming
closer.
it's not great.
We're closer to monopoly money right now than your
Oh.
dollar bill. So it's like a double. It's like boom.
Yeah.
Right.
Quadruple whammy there.
Yeah. It's like shipping sucks, which I think is one of the biggest bullshit kind of things. I've worked in the postal industry, so I know how it works. And it's like, I think you're full of shit. And I can honestly say that. Right. And right. I can say that because I worked in the industry. It's like, I think, you put an imaginary line somewhere and that imaginary line makes it different. It's like, well, we have to say, no, you don't. I know how you work. I know how you're doing this. So fuck you, first off. Right.
I shipped a book to California recently, and I think shipping was like $6 or something like that. There's no reason why just going over a border, an imaginary line between countries, should make the price go up $20 for shipping. There's just it doesn't make sense.
No. And like I said, and then on top of that, there's so when I do start doing like the only other things I want to do is I want to hit some American conventions next year. Not so much the Canadian ones, but the American ones next year. Because well, we're Canada. We'll just leave it at that. But one of the things about that, like, so one of the jokes now, it's a real joke now. So I don't know if you've ever met Kaylin Smith. So she's got like this. She's got like you look on her on Facebook. She's got like the evilest scowl you'll ever see. And the first time I saw that scowl, the joke was I'll give you my lunch money. Just leave me alone. She's like, she looks legitimately half scary. So if you look in her eyes, she's trying not to laugh every time she does that scowl. She's really, really sweet person. So the joke I have with her is like, if we ever do a con together, I'm gonna have her shake me down legitimately, like find a place to sit down and shake me down, right? And then no, here's the real joke. But here's the real joke: when she shakes you down, she's for Canadian money, right? So she gets even madder because it's Canadian money. It's not even. I shook you down for this.
What she do is she should have Canadian money in one pocket and Monopoly money in the other pocket, and she should just look at the Canadian money and then pick up the Monopoly money and walk away.
With a little bit of sadness on her face. Let's do this. Yes.
Yeah.
See, I have a good sense of. I got a good sense of humor about my dollars. Shittiness. We have a good sense of humor. Like I hope it doesn't become like the yen. I really do, but we'll see how that plays out. How that plays out. That also no, like it sounds like so with your comics, with your work. So in the middle of waiting for it, have you worked on another comic? You decided like, yes, I got another one in the can, or has it been very music centric for you? Okay, so you answered my question. So
yeah, I think so Jake is the artist on Shady Lane Blues, and he's another Clevelander, and we really enjoyed working together on this, and we go back a ways. And so when we finished the book, we immediately started talking about, well, what other possibilities are there? And we do have a story that I've been working on this story for 3 years now, and it's it involved a lot of research about the CIA, so that was kind of fun. It's in progress. And then I've been working on another story that I'm not sure if it's going to be a comic or if it's going to be a novel. And that one is still very much in the research stage. And then the more I research it, the more ideas I'm getting. And so it's just kind of getting bigger and bigger. I think for me, after the Peerless experience, which was we wrote 8 issues, we released the first issue, and I was very happy with how it came out. but then like I'm not rich, and producing that comic cost a lot of money, and I didn't have money to go right into the second issue, and so the artist took another job. Well, how can I blame him? I can't blame him. Like
No, no, no,
he's
no.
making a living, right? So I'm sitting on 7 unpublished issues of that story, and so I thought, I need to prove to the potential audience that I can tell a complete story. So Shady Lane Blues is a one-shot comic, 28 pages, and it is a self-contained story. And then the CIA one is, again, it will be a long comic book, it'll be a thick one, but it is a one-shot story. And I really feel like I need to get those books out there so people can see, yeah, Kris can do the beginning to the end and write a cohesive story. And then my hope is enough people will be like, so tell me about that Peerless book again, because it's a great story and I want to finish it because it's really good. And so that's my plan. I got to finish. I got
Oh,
to
I
tell
really
some
like.
complete stories and then come back to Peerless and finish that one up.
No, it's fair. No, it's totally fair. You want to expand the evil empire of Kris. Like that's like it's like we call it the evil empire, not just not, because again, if you say empire, it's like evil empire. Ooh, what are you
Right.
up to?
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, Lord knows you're looking up to CIA, so now you get to look at the heart of some of the evil empire. You're like, or ooh, this is cool. Like one or the other, right? Like that's the thing with the CIA. It's either like this is neat stuff, or oh god, you did that? That's real? Oh, ew, ew. So that is it. I when I've done my own research into the United States' history, it is a fascinating. I say this like this: it's fascinating, it's violent, and it's how do I put this? Colorful, because like you can see the good and the bad that came from it,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, and you look back at it and you go, well, some of this is really damn cool. Some of this you're like, God, we were idiots. And then you look and then you look at it today, it's like you look at what's going on today and you look at what's going on back then and you get really sad. Right? That's just how it goes. So
Yeah.
what era of the CIA are you looking at? Yeah,
Well,
not
I don't
giving
want to
away.
I don't want to give too much away, but it is so my story, I'll give you the 3 big pillars of the story. So there's the CIA, there are South American drug cartels, and then monsters.
Okay.
So
I have a theory of the era. I'll ask you off the air what era you're looking at. I have a theory. So we'll
yeah.
see if I'm right. We'll see
So
if I'm right about it.
it's a fun story, and it will be another corner of my evil universe, I guess. We did Kung Fu and 70s. Shady Lane Blues is a blues story that takes place in the 60s. This one will probably not revolve around a timepiece as much as the monster. So the monster will be the main focus of that. And
Although it is interesting that you are going back to recent history a lot, because it's again, the 60s was a very interesting time. The 70s was a really interesting time. I have a theory. I know what period this is. So just based on what you've told me, and again, I'm not giving it away on the air, but yeah, you look like you're looking back. So here's a big question.
Sure.
Are you trying to understand where we're going? And I asked it like that because it's the 60s. A lot of the things that are going on right now, you could trace all the way back to the 50s. Like you could legitimately trace back to the 50s, everything. So, and it's interesting to me to see how these patterns repeat themselves. I'm just curious if you've noticed this too, and is that part of why you're doing it, or you just love the ambiance of the time itself?
With Peerless, I wanted to take cultural things that are very interesting to me and put them in a blender. And so I like, as the musician side loves the birth of hip hop, the fact that it happened in a neighborhood and it happened in this really exciting and organic way. And then I love 1970s kung fu. So what would happen if, and then there's just a strong connection between kung fu culture and hip hop culture. So what would happen if we just went all in and just told a story where those two things meet? With Shady Lane Blues, I I wanted to talk about how people um, so the main premise of the story is that Screaming Washington Monroe, he was in his heyday in the 1920s. He's now washed up in the 1960s, but he gets a chance to kind of revive his career a little bit. And he gets so involved in preparing for this opportunity that he's completely unaware of the influence he's having on the people around him. And I guess I wanted that feeling of I didn't want a character to be like, who's that across the way getting on their computer Google searching that person. I wanted more of, who's that across the way? Wow, I'm just gonna sit at my window here for a little bit and take this in. And then they're not like, making YouTube videos. They're actually learning their instrument, they're going out and playing, and they're working in that kind of vintage way. I mean, I do love music from that era as well. So I guess when it comes down to it, I'm trying to tell a story, and in both cases, those eras were just, they felt good for the story.
Yes.
They felt like good fits. And then also I
Yeah.
like vintage stuff. So, like I like black and white film, I like blues music, Delta blues music, I like funk and hip hop, and I love New York City, especially when it was all grimy and gritty. And so it's a combination of telling a story, but then also where my unique combination of interests lie.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like you gotta bring your own stuff into the story. Like what again, like myself, I'm homaging a lot of stuff I really enjoyed as a kid. Like the Stick Figure Revolution is a homage to Dr. Seuss.
Right.
My graphic novel I'm working on is a homage to Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. I have like I'm
Alice
doing
in
a homage
Wonderland.
to Alice
Yeah.
in Wonderland, right? And even my novel, I'm going to say this, is a bit of a homage to Parker. Now it's obviously a little bit more than that. I submitted another pitch to a company, which is a homage. Well, it's a homage to Cowboy Bebop and Three Musketeers.
Nice.
Yes, because if you're gonna homage stuff, you're gonna homage the good shit. That's what you're
Right.
gonna do. You're
Exactly.
gonna find the good stuff, right? So, and I as I perked up, it's like, ooh, Cowboy Bebop. It's like, yes, that's right. I mean, like, as I've gotten older, like from a reading standpoint, I am actually getting more and more into like Japanese light novels, manga, and one of the reasons is I realize is because to me it's a throwback to the pulp era of books. If I want modern pulp, that's where it is.
Yeah.
That's exactly where it is. It's not. I like dime novels. I think there's a huge value in them in today's culture because again, don't get me wrong, I love me some Brandon Sanderson. I do. But you've seen his books. They're bricks, right?
Right.
Yeah, you're right. The bricks. Now I only have time in today's world. I can read maybe 3 bricks a year, maybe 4 if I push it, right? And the rest of the time, I just want to read something that's light and fluffy. And I wouldn't say fluffy exactly. I don't mind deep concepts, but I don't necessarily want to. Again, I don't want to have a book that can also substitute as a weapon of mass destruction. I actually had this. I actually am halfway serious about making a TikTok video about using Brandon Sanderson's books as weapons of mass destruction and see how much damage they could actually do from a great ball, because they're big books, right? I mean, they're big books. And by the way, I'm not anyone watching. I'm knocking Brandon Sanderson down. Like you read them fast, like they really really good. But you look at that, you're like, I got 2, another 3 of these in me.
I could just imagine the knock on the door and come to your apartment door and open up, the landlord standing outside and it's like, Josh, we got to talk about you dropping books off the roof of the building. We really can't have you doing that anymore.
You made a crater. See, look at that. That's a crater. That's a legitimate crater.
Right.
How did you do? Actually, the first thing the landlord would go, "How did you do that?" Like honestly, that like if you walked into your backyard and you suddenly saw a giant crater there and no visible reaction as to how that happened, you'd be like, you go to your kids, probably your kids first. Right? I'm
Right.
assuming one of them has a bit of a mischief streak somewhere in there, and you go to her and be like, "So what did you do?"
Right.
Right? And she's like, well, "What do you mean? There's a crater in the backyard, and I don't, and there's nothing, and there's no evidence of anything happening. So I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but you're the suspect here. So what did you do?" I'm not even mad. I just want to know what you did because I did not expect that in my yard. Yeah, you ever get some like you see something happen, right? And it would, if it was anything ordinary, you'd be furious.
Right.
But the result is just so one of a kind. You're like, I can't even be mad at this.
Right. As a teacher, there have been many of those situations where at one point I had to take a bungee cord to keep a trombone together during a marching band performance. And I just looked at the student and I said, "How did your trombone fall apart?" And, "I don't know." Okay, well, I guess we're going to use this bungee cord to keep it together so you can get through this show. Those guys. Oh, here's a good one. This past summer, outside, huge silver sousaphone, big tuba, and student comes in at the end of the day. It'd been sunny all day, and he shows me his music, and it's burnt. And I said, how did your music get burnt? And he said, well, it was in the bell of my tuba, and the sun reflected off of it and focused it and burned my music. And I was like, well, that's a new one. Congratulations.
Yeah, and you're like, I can't even be mad at this.
No, I'm not. I'm like, I'm impressed.
Yeah, I'm impressed / worried / right, like please don't set your music there.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Just don't. I don't like, because the first time I can understand it's an accident. The second time I'd be like, then I have to be mad because first time it's a novelty, but the second time it's like,
right.
No.
Now you're just trying. Now you're just trying to burn your music.
Yeah, exactly. So now let's get to the music part of this. Yeah, you did a record. It was Shady Lane Bros. So
yeah.
So is there going to be like a Kristopher Morron mixtape somewhere of like all your like beats and sounds going, this is it, this is my music?
Then, so that's kind of, so I've been, last summer after I quit my job, I decided that I needed to do a bunch of music, and so I did score sessions, which was it's on YouTube, and basically I had people give me a suggestion of a scene from a movie or a genre of movie, and then I gave myself one day to write the music, mix it, and then post it. And that was really fun because I got to try a bunch of different music styles, play with my new software, and get accustomed to it. And then Shady Lane Blues has 3 songs in it, and so I'm not much of a blues singer or guitar player, so I went to my friend Austin Walking Cane, and I said, well, we come over and we can work out these songs together, and then I'll have you record them and we'll use it for the record. So so we did 3 songs, and those appear on the record in the book. And then in the soundtrack for the Cleveland International Film Festival was written by a good friend of mine, a couple friends of mine. And so I did the orchestration on that, which is to just take their idea and write it out for the youth orchestra that I conduct. And then that was followed by the concert in June with Luca Mundaka, and I arranged half the music that appeared on that concert. So I took her songs and arranged them for orchestra. And then the Night Ranger show coming up in November, we're doing 12 songs, 10 of which I did the arrangements for. And that's really, it's been very time consuming because I'll make a demo of it, send it to the band. They give me some feedback, adjust this, tweak this. That's total crap. You need to fix it. And then I take it and turn it into the sheet music that we hand out to students. And that's what my computer said you're not doing today. So
no. So again, when we're done and we wrap up, first off, does your computer have a name? I should ask this question.
It doesn't. No, it's just computer.
So you have to give it a name first off. Right.
Yeah.
I suggest Mo, but you can do whatever you want. It's like the reason why it's Mo because it's like You fucking mow. It works. It's beautiful. Right? See how beautiful that is?
Yeah,
It's
no, it's great.
simple.
It's really, it does work very well. Yeah.
Yeah, it works in that. Now, it doesn't have to be Mo. It can be like, I'm not saying, I think it could be Bob. It could be Bill. It could be Luke, right? If you, like me, hated Rise of the Skywalker, I have to be honest with you. Rise of the Skywalker hurt to watch. It hurt a little bit to watch.
Yeah.
Right. It just that first hour was a car crash. It wasn't even one of those fun car crashes. It's like you walk. It's like if you were beside the car that was on fire and it was just driving by you, and you're like, you're not sure what happened there, right? You're not sure. And I don't knock any of the actors for any of this stuff. It's just like that whole movie kind of started as a giant mess, and it felt like it was trying to clean itself up, and it was entertaining in parts. It was, but it wasn't good. It wasn't like, it's like, why did you do this when you could have done that? Hurt my head. I'm just saying, hurt my head. I say it like that, but the reason, that's why I said, so Luke couldn't work as a swear. I was like, fucking Luke, why did you do this? Right? Yeah, exactly. Yep. So, thank you. Single syllable, right? Single syllable. And to anyone who feels I'm being sexist, there's not as many good. I think there's Jill. I'm trying to think of another one that's single syllable. There's not as many good single syllable women names to actually swear at, right? As there's the guy names, and also it might be a little weird. Like people might look at you even funnier. Laugh at you if it's a guy's name. They might not laugh at you quite so much if it's a girl's name. So I'm looking out for you, buddy. But yeah, swear.
Thank you.
Yeah. Swear at it, right? Swear at it a little bit. Try to intimidate it with fear. And if that doesn't work, that's the other thing too. There's this wonderful thing called a computer store. You replace it. Like that, the next time, do it right. Give it a name, right at the beginning. Just that way you can establish a relationship with it, right? Hopefully not a fully abusive one, but I mean, that's.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Night Ranger stuff, and then once I finish that this week, then I'm done with Shady Lane Blues. It's out in the world. Night Ranger arrangements will be finished. That concert's on November 9th. So things kind of open up a little bit, and it's an opportunity for me to pick what's next. And so I'll definitely be working on the monster story, the CIA monster story. And then I think to your question, is there going to be like a Kristopher Morron music project? I think so. I'm after working on other people's music for the last year, it's time for me to start writing or getting back to writing my own. And now I feel really confident with my software, and I'm ready to do some experimenting. Full disclosure, my summer project was to read a book about Prince and his production from 1983 to 1984. It was fascinating. That guy's work ethic was out of this world.
That's the Purple Rain album.
Yeah,
was that? Yeah, that album was amazing.
Yeah. Crazy. So I'm like inspired, and I got ideas, and so I think I'm just gonna start writing some music and working on the monster book, and then we'll see which one gets done first. I
actually also have, and I'm only half kidding about this. I actually also have a kind of a music project. It's more like a music murder project. This is the thing. So my first Kickstarter, I had this really cool idea for a stretch goal. Let's see what you think about this.
Okay.
I did a karaoke night not too long ago, and I actually.
Oh, I saw the post. I saw the posts.
Are they my friends or are they not my friends? You got to let me. I think the one that blew me away was the Meatloaf song. I looked at that and I was like, "There's no fucking chance." So you can do it, buddy. I believe you. I listened to it for like a minute and I'm like, the range in just the first minute. What he does in the first minute of that song, you're like, there's not many people alive that can do that.
It's true.
Period.
True.
Why do you hate me so much? And I look at it. I get like the hardest Journey song. I get like one of the hardest Journey songs. I'm like, okay. My sister probably had the evilest choice on there, like the evilest one. then another friend of mine had the second evilest one, Dixie Chicks and Shania Twain. Yeah. Right? It's like evil, right?
I don't know if these are your friends, man. I think your family members have some kind of axe to bury in your back or something. I don't know.
I know. I think on a personal note, I think you would hilariously enjoy my sister. Like just as a person though, I think you just because her sense of humor is kind of wicked. It's wicked in both a good and not so good way. But I know this from experience. But here's the thought I had actually after doing this. What I could do as a cool little bonus stretch goal is I'll do a live film karaoke night where I will murder any song on the request. I will try them. I will actually, but what I'll do is I'll make sure everything's ready to be fulfilled. I'll fulfill them and I'll rehearse for a month. I'll actually legitimately rehearse these for a month. I'm not going to still pretend they're going to be any good. But I think it's a cool thing. That's actually a cool bonus stuff for people that pick. It's like songs I murder.
Right.
Right.
Do we get to suggest songs for you to sing?
Yeah, no. No. Just that'd be the thing. Like you'd always suggest. There'd be like 2 rounds. You'd always suggest. Then you would all vote, and like the top 10 of them, I would do. Oh no. It's a good idea though, right? I think it's fantastic. A good idea.
It's fantastic. I can't wait. Can't wait.
Yeah, so that'll be like a night in April while I'm still in the city of Calgary going, okay guys, it's karaoke night. Twitch.
Time to do it.
You requested this.
I love it.
Yeah. The only 2 rules is it has to be on the karaoke list. If it's not on the karaoke list, I can't do it. And the second rule is it has to, again, top 10. I'm not doing all of them, but I will do 10 of them. And I will watch them just, I'll probably die a horrible death on the stage.
It's going to be fantastic. That actually not only, if that doesn't work for your Kickstarter, I think that should be episode 1000.
Oh, good God.
You stuck with me this long. Let's kick off the next 1,000 with a bang.
That could be like 1001. That'd be like going. That'd be 1001. If it doesn't work as a kick, I somehow think I'm going to get funded on the Kickstarter. Something tells me I will because of everything I've done. Yeah. But like that bonus, like that's a stretch goal. It's like, yes, for this much money, you get the book, and on top of that, you get to choose. You get to choose how I die on stage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you. Have you seen the movie The Fifth Element?
Yes.
Yeah, get ready. I hope your soprano voice is getting warmed up.
You're gonna make me do the opera? Oh God.
That one probably won't be on the karaoke machine, but maybe I'll need to mix that at home and send it to the bar that you're going to be at just to make sure that it's available.
Oh God. He would too. Yeah, it will be filmed. Like, there'll actually be a video. There'll be video evidence of me murdering songs on. Yeah. No, because if I'm again, this is one of those things. If I'm going to do something, you got to make sure you make your audience happy, right?
So the things we do for our audiences, huh?
Yeah. Meanwhile, in your head, I can think like, do I want him to murder this song, or this song,
right, exactly.
or this song, or this song? And then it's like, so it's a good Kickstarter idea. Then it's a really good Kickstarter like bonus perk. It's like, hey, listen, yeah. Yes, that's right. I get so folks, you've heard it here first. When I do my first Kickstarter, there will be music to me. There literally will be music I murder on. Like the music will die. I'm not. Yeah. He's like, yes. Everybody's like that. But anyway, man, it sounds like you're on your way to where you want to be, wherever that. Actually, that is the perfect final question, I guess, for this, and then we'll wrap this up.
Yeah.
One of the things about making the leap is, I think one of the other aspects we have not talked about is visualizing the end goal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, folks, obviously, the results of what you do vary. What Kris is doing right now, I'm not sure he visualized doing initially. I'm not saying that you don't love it, but I don't know if that was initially what you were thinking when you were doing this. So I guess the question is, did you visualize where you were going?
Mm.
And if you did, did it work out like you imagined, or it didn't? And or finally, or if you're still trying to get there, where do you want to go?
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is when I was leading up to the leaving of my job, I did do some visualization, and I started pretty modest. I just wanted to understand that for the full extent of my teaching career, I had to leave insanely early in the morning, drop my kids off to morning daycare, or my wife had to take them to school. And so I wouldn't get to really see them in the morning. A lot of times I was up before they were even awake. And so then I would get home and maybe pick them up from daycare and we'd have dinner and then they go to bed. And so for long stretches of time, I just wouldn't see my kids. So I started up my visualizations, just waking up in the morning and visualizing having an opportunity to read or meditate in the morning, getting my kids up, sitting at the dining room table, having breakfast with them, and then taking them to school, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. And it's great. Like, I love the fact that I get to take my kids to school, and then I come home and I sit here in my studio and I write and I make music, and these are all things that I visualize. It was like my first goal. I just want to be able to do that. And so, check the box. And now my visualization moving forward is that I've always wanted to be involved in the filmmaking business. It's something that I have been passionate about since I was a little kid. I would love to write a movie soundtrack, maybe more than one movie soundtrack. And I'd love to conduct other people's music, other people's soundtracks. And I want to do that at Abbey Road Studios. I want to stand in that room where the Beatles played and where John Williams did all of his amazing work, and countless other soundtracks have been recorded. I want to conduct at Air Studios in London. That's where Hans Zimmer does a lot of his orchestral recording. It's like an old church with like an adjustable ceiling so you can affect the reverb levels and stuff. It's awesome. And I want to travel. So I want to have the opportunity to make music all over the world. And as far as comic books are concerned, my vision is just when I have a story, I want to see it through. So the monster story, I want to complete it. Peerless, I want all 8 issues done. The other story that I didn't give you many details about, that may be a novel, I want to finish that. For me, creating something isn't about creating something that I'm going to sell tons of copies of. Of course, I want people to read it and I want people to enjoy it. I'm not writing like super abstract stuff. I'm writing very accessible things. But in the end, I just want to tell good stories. And I just want to feel like those stories aren't something that I go, oh, that would be kind of a fun story to tell. No, I want to do it and then get it out in the world and let people read it and decide for themselves if I'm a hack or if they like what I'm writing about.
I have a similar thing there, except I don't care if they think I'm a hack. Listen, I can be the great. No, see, listen. We're gonna talk music for a second here, right? Like, listen, I love Survivor. Let's be honest, they never topped Eye of the Tiger. But you know what? So what? So what? They still did Eye of the Tiger. One hit wonder is totally fine. I think this is the thing that maybe this is one thing I've learned is I don't care how other people look at me in the process of me doing what I'm doing.
Right.
What matters to me is that in the process of doing what I'm doing, I'm creating something that I feel is worthwhile. Right. Even if it's just me being a silly ass. Listen, I'm writing a story about stick figures fighting against God.
Yeah.
Right. It's absurd. But I enjoy that absurdity. I think, right? And also, anyone that listens to the pitch, like you, starts chuckling because it's like, okay, this is fun.
Yeah.
If that's the impression I'm leaving, I did good.
Right.
Do I care about anything else? Nope. Not even. Just anytime you listen to an idea or you hear what I'm saying, it creates an impression.
Right.
That's all I care about.
Yeah.
The rest, meh. Right.
Well, and I think I'm in a similar way, but maybe just a slightly different way of looking at it. For me, it's I want to
You
If
want
I
the
write a story and I feel like I truly told it the way I wanted to tell the story, then I've accomplished what I set out to do.
yeah,
The
absolutely.
moment that I start writing something that I'm going to claim is mine, that's original, but is motivated by some need to make money or to impress somebody, then I think that that's not my creation. That's my creation for somebody else. I just like to write stories that like I can look back at this book and this project and I can go, everything in this is exactly the way I wanted it to be. Okay, that's not 100% accurate. I told the story I wanted to tell, and I collaborated with the people I wanted to collaborate with, and then through that process, I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish with the story.
And that's because that's all in your control.
Right.
Anything else, like I said, I'm just saying, listen, I know you want to be like Prince. Everybody does in terms of success.
I don't know about the assless pants, but anyway.
Listen, I'm not. His style is his style. That's what part of it. I mean, right? Listen, I still remember the story of him beating the Murphy brothers and having pancakes after. Thank you, Dave Chappelle, for that's a real story.
Yep.
But that all said, right? How do I put this? His success was unparalleled, like one of those unparalleled moments where he caught on, right place, right time, he worked, and all the more power to him. But again, what I realized is we all kind of want that, but as I've gotten older, wiser with a question mark, we'll just say wiser with a question mark, it's more like, you know what I really want, like for my birthday, I had a lot of people wish me a happy birthday, but my favorite one was the guy goes, "Hey, I love all your books," and that was cool. Like someone read my stuff. That's all I care about. Now, if I get awards, like, oh, there's other cool stuff. If I can make a living doing it, like I want to make a living doing it. But beyond that, whatever that looks like, right? I might be the most hated guy in the industry, and you know what? I would own that with a passion, right?
I highly doubt that. But I get the point you're trying to make.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to be me. I don't think that's why my place where I land in this. I think some people, I think the people that really are going to love me are really going to love me. I think there are people that are not going to like me. They're going to think I'm too silly or too crazy, and I'm good with that too. At this point, I don't care. I'm just going to make the best impression, being the best version of myself possible, and the rest, I trust it'll work out, and that's it. That's all I can do. So.
Yeah. 100%.
Sounds like a plan, sir. So next year, ice cream with like either Bailey or some kind of liquor like that, and maybe in your studio or in the van, and we just like bullshit like this again next year.
I got a koi pond in the back. We can go sit by the koi pond and eat.
Yeah. It sounds fantastic. All right. In that case, sir, I really think we have a good interview here. What do you think?
It's as always an absolute pleasure talking to you, and thank you for having me on the show again. Appreciate it.
Don't do that adulting stuff too much, okay?
Okay, I'll try not to.
Yeah. Okay, try not to. I mean, you gotta be the dad. I get that sometimes. You gotta be the adult sometimes.
Gotta pay the bills.
Gotta pay the bills. But that all said, the rest of the time, it's too much like work. I'm lazy. I'm getting older and lazier in my age. Anyways, we should talk. Okay, we should. Hey.
Hi.
Hello. Hey.
Brain Drill.
Hello, Brain Drill 1980. Nice to see ya. We're about to get to the part. We're about to get to the part where Kris talks about his latest work. So I guess we want to talk about the concert, the comic. What do you want people to know about right
well, okay. So we'll talk about the comic first because it's available now. Shady Lane Blues is the story of Screaming Washington Monroe. He's a washed-up blues musician, and he gets an opportunity to open a new blues club and write new material. He, while he's working on writing new songs, he unwittingly influences a young lady who launches her own career. And the story is presented in black and white, done by Cleveland artist Jake Kelly, who has amazing artwork, lettering by Rob Jones, cover art by John G., another great Cleveland artist. It is a book that comes with a soundtrack, and so this is the record that comes with it. For those of you without record players, there is a digital download code as well. And the music is meant to be listened to while you read the book, because the way we record the songs reflects what's going on in those scenes in the book. It's another dimension to help you experience the book at a deeper level. It's a one-shot comic. It's available on my website, skinnykmusic.com. And I'm very proud of it. I think it's got a message that anybody can enjoy. I know that a lot of my friends who are like, oh, I don't really read comics. It's a story presented in comic book form. But really, if you appreciate film noir, if you enjoy uplifting stories, if you like all things vintage, if you're a record collector, I think that this project, at least the people who've purchased it so far and have given me excited feedback, that those things seem to be the things that are hitting with listeners. So I hope you'll check it out. And then November 9th at the State Theater in Playhouse Square here in Cleveland, 80s Legends Night Ranger will be performing with the Contemporary Youth Orchestra. This is a benefit concert for the Danny Repepe Memorial Foundation. We're very excited about this concert. The orchestra will be on stage with Night Ranger, performing arrangements I've been working on diligently for the last few months, and it's going to be epic. I'm very excited about it. You can find out more about that at the Cleveland Playhouse website, and then the Cleveland Playhouse website, and then also on the Instagram and the Facebook. You can look up either Contemporary Youth Orchestra or Night Ranger, and both organizations are promoting this show. It should be a lot of fun.
Yes.
And if you're not familiar with Night Ranger, you are, because you probably heard Sister Christian somewhere, especially if you've seen Boogie Nights. And then they've sold 17 million records. I mean, they were huge between like 1983 and 1985 with numerous top 100 hits. And we're going to be doing a lot of those songs. So for those of you who grew up in the 80s, it will be a very fun walk down memory lane.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I will not try to top that. I'm just trying to be a trained professional here and get my due diligence out, as I have something here to basically promote. So basically, folks, I do some commercial stuff, whether you're doing your comic, a project, or your brand, or yourself. I do video, audio, words, and pictures about it. You can definitely find out more there. I do other services as well. Just check out my website. You can definitely check all that stuff out now. And that, folks, is this episode of Just Joshing. And tomorrow I have a double header. I think it's a double header because I was crazy and did some stuff. I have a very early morning podcast with the great Lucy Lentner, and I got Belinda Becker in the afternoon. It's going to be a fun time. So for everybody watching, everybody listening, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. Thanks, Brain Drill. Have yourself a wonderful day. Right? Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. And I'll see you guys next time.